if I'd had those opening lines back then I would have known right at the beginning of the consult that they weren't doing anything, all right, rather than them finally admitting towards the end of the consult that they hadn't purchased anything and they hadn't changed the diet and they hadn't done anything that was asked. Now I find that out straight up. I find that out in the first 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes. It's in the hello, right? That's where I find it out, rather than them hedging around it because I've got the system in place, because I've got the template in place. Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists, coaches, and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to the needs of you, the practicing natural therapist. We have interviews during the holiday season and business and mindset support each week, so you'll get the variety you need to enjoy and stay motivated in your practice. If you want to connect with me, always check the show notes because that's where you'll find the links to book appointments. Now, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite-Sized Podcast. How the devil are you? So today is the Encourager. We're mid-session in all the training for this month for June. So it's a short one, the mid-fortnight nudge, shall we say. Bit cold here, rubbing my hands, a bit chilly. So it's been a week since we talked about clinical systems. And if you're like most of us, you haven't started anything yet. That's completely okay. Remember, I said one of the things we can do with our clients is say to our clients the ultimate, the end game, what we want at the end of our discussions, what we want them to achieve ultimately, but then we give them one task or one system or one something for them to change, adjust, take, whatever it might be. But because they know where they're going, they're more likely to do a little bit more. So maybe you haven't touched the workbook yet. Maybe you haven't done what needs to be done yet that's in there. That's okay. This is your reminder and this is your okay to start now. So one of my only most successful programs was my Weight Loss Thursday. Brilliantly named, best name for anything ever. Real rhyme. Real ring to it. Not. So yeah, Weight Loss Thursday. But it worked really well because I see them once a month. They come in for a weigh-in and a discussion and that face-to-face. I had one of those weighing machines that told you all of the information, how much water they had on board and all the rest of it. And then I'd do blood pressure, I'd look at their tongue, I'd look at irises, I'd do the stuff, but it was only half an hour. So they felt really included by me. They felt that I was giving them what they needed. I charged them the full appointment price because I only saw them once a month, but then I texted them every Thursday. That's why it was Weight Loss Thursday. Everybody and anything to do with weight loss happened on a Thursday. But I message them, I text them, send them a text, how you going? And then they can't write much back. So they have to be relatively succinct. And that worked really well for their check-ins weekly because it was a Thursday, any day would work. Probably, I was thinking because the weekend's coming up, it will support them to be better at the weekends, to do what they need to do at the weekends, to stay off the beers or the curries or the whatever it is that they would normally do at the weekend. It's going to support them to maintain the system that they were following. And so with you, it seems the most logical thing to do because I initially thought, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to have the workbooks in the strategy lab for everybody who's already in the strategy lab so they've got constant work to do. And so I'll only be on here once a fortnight. But it doesn't work like that, does it? Coaching doesn't work like that. The All Blacks don't turn up once a fortnight for a bit of practice. Whoever it is, whichever team it is that you follow, the Crows, the Bulldogs, I don't know who it is that you follow, but they turn up all the time and that's how they achieve their aim. And so I'm going to support you by being in here every week. But these encouragers is what I call them. That's how I've described them in my own system. So last week was a full-on discussion, course, paperwork, workbook. Not very long. It was okay. It wasn't harmful. It wouldn't have harmed you if you'd done it. But today's an encourager. Today's the motivator to do what you need to do. Okay. So I've called it an encourager in my notes. So did you build one template? Did you build all four? Have you started, printed it out,
got the foundations going and that you've got a biro that works really well. You got texters out and you're ready to go. You just haven't had that moment to sit down and do it. So it's okay to have resistance about change. Your clients have resistance about change every time they come, which is why they only, they very rarely do everything and they generally only do some of what you ask, because there's resistance is real. Resistance in everything is real. So changing your diet, there's huge resistance in there. All right. And that's normal. So the follow-up structure would be the easiest place to start if you haven't started yet. Now, for everybody who's out there in podcast land who isn't in the strategy lab, don't hang up, don't click on to the next one, because I've got questions for you as well. So these encourages are for you as well. They're not just for the people in the strategy lab, they're for you in podcast land. Now, what are our questions? Our motivating questions for you. What is one consult task you most dread? Not the hardest, but the one that makes you sigh. Those, I've got to do that. Okay, so everyone can do that, whether you're in the strategy lab or you're not, and you're flicking through the podcast. This is work for you to do and think about in everybody. The other thing about the encourages is there's going to be work for everybody in them. All right. So what is the one consult task you most dread? It probably pops straight into your mind. It's not the hardest one. It's the one that makes you sigh. It's the one that you go, really? That's probably where we need to start with a template. That's probably where we need to start with working stuff out for you. Okay. Because if we've got that thing that you dread and you put it off, it becomes harder because it becomes bigger. So how can we make that thing smaller and easier for you to do? All right. Okay, question 2. Think back over this week. So since you last listened to the podcast, or maybe you haven't, maybe you've still got to go and listen to it. I don't know. When in this week did you start from a blank page? And what would have saved you if it had already been half built? So was there a blank page moment? Was there a starting from scratch moment? And if it was, what could already have been done, or what could you have scooped from somewhere else to make sure that it wasn't a blank page moment? Third question, last question. If every follow-up consult opened in the same reliable way, what would you do with the attention or the time that was freed up by that simple system? Okay. Because if we've got that simple starter question and we've got our system in place, when our clients walk in the door and we ask them those questions, then we can elicit those answers faster and better than we would otherwise. Okay. We're going to get the result that we want in the conversation much faster and more efficiently. And it's going to give us less worry or trauma or whatever around asking those questions. Because it can actually be quite scary, can't it? The follow-up is like, has anything changed? Has anything happened? Have they improved? Or are they just going to come and tell me nothing's changed? So I had one mother and daughter who came to me regularly, and she had pimples. So if you don't get anywhere with me, I'll give you a free appointment, right? My clients. So over the 20 years, I've given out 2 free appointments, and I gave them 1 free appointment. So I said, in the consult, I said, look, I won't charge you for today because clearly things aren't working. Because the mother was just like, it's not working, nothing's happening, she's still got the pimples, da, 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 da. Obviously, I can't tell you too much about them because you better figure out who they are. But there was something was very clear in their nutritional intake that shouldn't be there. And I kept asking them to take it out and to change it. And she still insisted on eating the same junk food. And then at the end of it, I was like, actually, why have I given you a free appointment? Why are you even coming to see me? You've, number one, refused to buy anything or you've said that you'll wait and see. And so I've given you products that you can just buy over the counter, like bioceuticals at the chemist from behind the counter, whatever. So I've given you products that you can just go and buy yourself. You haven't done that because you've Googled them and decided they're not suitable. So why are you here anyway? And you won't change your diet. Why are you here anyway? So, I gave them the free appointment and I said, I'm not going to rebook you because you're not actually doing any of the things. The resistance is fine, but as they'd say in, was it Star Trek? Resistance is futile because you can't change if you don't change. Nothing will change if you don't change, right? So if I'd had those opening lines back then I would have known right at the beginning of the consult that they weren't doing anything, all right, rather than them finally admitting towards the end of the consult that they hadn't purchased anything and they hadn't changed the diet and they hadn't done anything that was asked. Now I find that out straight up. I find that out in the first 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes. It's in the hello, right? That's where I find it out, rather than them hedging around it, because I've got the system in place, because I've got the template in place. So can you go and think about those 3 things, whether you're in the strategy lab or not? Number 1, what is the one consult task you dread most? Number 2, think back over the week. When did you start from a blank page? Question 3, if every follow-up consult opened in the same reliable way, how would that work for you? How would that change things for you? Okay. I hope I've encouraged you to think about the systems in place that you have and the consults that you're having and how you can improve those. For those in the strategy lab, go in and do the workbook, or at least have a look at it, at least skim through it. For those of you out here in podcast land, thank you very much for listening. I love having you here. And this is for you as well. You're just kind of missing out on the bigger picture, but you're getting the good stuff as well. So thank you for joining me. And I will see you next week. Well, you'll hear from me. So what we're doing next time is the marketing system. So again, we're going to be thinking about these templates, about how to do it, how to run that system, and what's going to work for us and what's going to work for our business. So I'm going to leave you there. I hope you have a brilliant rest of day, and I look forward to catching up with you next time. See ya.
Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for the weekly episodes. Bye for now.